Probably should have ended the video yesterday, to be honest with you, but we've rolled in today. Why not? I'm just admiring my handiwork. Door handle's so good, it's brilliant. Otherwise, today, ladies and gentlemen, yesterday, basically, obviously, I stopped work early to do some blogging, then I ended up fucking around with the door handle for 3 hours, and then didn't do any work after that. My hands, by the way, this is a bad indictment for like how buttery soft my hands are, but they're like tender, you know. They're also a bit dry as well. Let's be honest. They need a bit of moisture. But the like skin feels new, you know. Feels like new skin. You know that feeling. But anyway, yeah. So last night we just kind of chilled and watched Bon Appetit videos in the evening instead of doing any work. I was pooped to be honest. And this morning I've spent most of the morning so far finishing off my Christmas shopping. It's Black Friday. Just went and bought it all, fuck it. So I think, like, it's one of them things where I've been putting it off. I knew what I was buying, I just was putting it off because I didn't really want to spend money, but I don't have a choice. So I'm just gonna have to buy it. So I've bought it all. I'm kind of a bit like, not embarrassed, but like not proud of the amount that I've bought Dad. Because, well, I've bought that as well, but yeah. But yeah, I'm just watching the pennies. I'm normally, like, honestly, I'm the kind of person who goes out and I like buying people lots of stuff for Christmas. It's just what I like doing. And I'm not doing that this year. And to be honest with you, I've probably still gone overboard. But normally my overboard is overboard with a salary, you know what I'm saying? This is overboard without a salary. But anyway, so I'm just making myself a cup of tea. I'm watching Formula 1, and I'm going to carry on with what I was doing yesterday, which is updating my GraphQL schemas. I'm rolling through. I was going to go to a networking thing tonight, but I've cancelled. I've like backed out of it. There aren't that many people going, and it is like it's like a booze up one instead of like going for something. You know, it's literally going to have a booze up, and I'm like, I'm not interested. You know, it's not like I wouldn't do it at uni. I'm not going to do it now. So I bottled out on that. Make myself a cup of tea, having a hot water bottle, just keep myself toasty, and I'm going to get back into the walk. I did go for my morning walk. I need to put my headphones on charge. Thanks for reminding me. So, but yeah, I also stopped vlogging because Formula 1's on. Copyright. Oh my god, falling up the stairs. But yeah, so I am just having a bit of a morning off, an afternoon off yesterday, and then we're gonna hit it hard now. Tea. This change I'm rippling through this microservice is such a pain in the ass. Why? I've changed something that used to be called a code repository. I've created a new code repository with the same name and added data to it, added fields to it, and renamed the original code repository to code repository summary. And now like all the mappings are all wrong because obviously like doing a rename like that doesn't just throw up errors. It's just like, oh yeah, there's one here, that'll work. But obviously not because they're two completely different objects. Oh god, normally when you do stuff like this, like you'll press the button, you'll press the update button, you know, it would like delete a file and it'll be like, this is gone. And you'll be like, okay, sweet, right, rename that to that, bam, 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 happy birthday, copy paste. Nope. One of them days today where it's like, it's cold out, it's 3 degrees outside, I didn't need a hot water bottle. Because it's so sunny. It's so like, it's like a greenhouse in here. The one like saving grace is that at least it's all like GraphQL, so it's all queries. I'm not doing any like weird stuff, so it's quite easy to test. It's just a case of spin it up, run my queries in Insomnia, and we'll be all right. But so I can find the errors, but they're not compile time errors, which is the annoying part. Right, I am now right an hour and a half until lunch. Let's fucking do it. And then all I need, I'm going to race through, and then in the afternoon I can add in the new thing. So I'm just going to make it work. Concentrate. All of the queries, smashing it, but they all work. I'm going to go through this commit and make sure everything's there and is okay, and then I'm going to implement. So this is the confusing thing is you could either go from a provider and search for its repositories, or you could go straight to the repositories, and then via GraphQL you can ask for the provider that links to it. And if you went via REST, it would tell you, oh, by the way, if you want this, then you can go and get it from there. But that second part is what I'm about to do. Living the dream, boys. I've just got to make sure, I'm going to go through all these commits here and make sure that I've not missed something. But I'm pretty confident I haven't, because all the tests pass, and yeah, it's fine. This is slightly more faffy than I first thought, because what I didn't realise was, well, I knew it, but I didn't really consider it as being a problem, is that the thing that I'm adding to my GraphQL schema has an optional thing on it. Yeah, so the pattern that I was using, also the second layer down, is more complicated than the first. It's not as simple as just taking an ID. So yeah, the pattern I've been using to resolve these things have been pass me the reference object, and then I'll spit out the domain object that I know you want, whereas I need to change that to be actually the service model, and then I can map it outside of that controller, because otherwise I don't have enough information for the next step when I want to go too deep rather than just one deep. Pain in the ass. It's worth doing, but it's a pain in the goddamn ass. I mean, at this point, oh god, no. I'm doing all of this because at some point you'll be able to get this level from another thing, so that'll be 4 deep. No, yeah, I need to I need to figure out a better way of doing this. It'll work. Yeah, the problem is, like, at the domain layer, I've bin off the information if I don't have it. Bastard. Yeah, it complicates things a little bit. Boys, here we go. So if you run a query like this, it's just my repository query. It's going to my repository. Oh, yeah, that's boring, isn't it? It's going to the repository microservice. This isn't anywhere near its and that's the data it gives you back. If you were to just skillfully press undo and ask for code provider information, it, assuming you don't on a breakpoint, gets you to the code provider. If you then go, hey, also, could I get credential information, specifically whether or not it's a personal access token? If it's a personal access token, it'll go off and do this. Bam, boy! That was significantly more faffy than I thought it would be, but we got it. Happy days. Unfortunately, it is all talking to the same microservice at the moment, but what I'll have now is when I talk to the next microservice, and that just has an ID to the repository, that ID can be turned into a reference that can get this out, and it will just do it magically. And then from that point on, you'll be able to get all of this extra information, and that will be gluing together 2 microservices, not just one microservice twice. But hey ho, it's designed to try and minimize load on databases and stuff, and not give the user too much information at once. Via the GraphQL stuff, it's relatively less interesting, probably. It's more like I think it's called Hatios. That's the kind of pattern that we're using for like REST. So if you were to use a REST call, as it's getting the data for you, one of the fields would be code provider with a URL, and then you go to that URL, and then there's your next bit. But the API gateway is clever enough to glue them all together automatically, so it knows. Because you've asked, well, if you're using GraphQL, sorry, it glues it automatically, and it just looks like one big object rather than 2 big objects. All right then, crooners, it's time to go to bed, and I'm ending this video because it's already longer than it should be. So yeah, we've had a productive day. So this whole video, I've finished that user story I started at the beginning of the week. Took me, I think, just over 20 hours to get it done. So it was weighty, and I knew it would be, but like the next one is gonna leverage it a bit. And like I say, I haven't quite figured out an easy solution for this kind of easily managing this nesting. But I'm gonna have to solve it. So otherwise, it's because I need to finish the first step like they chain off each other. They get information from each other. It's got to be an easier way of doing it. I'll think about it. But anyway, like I say, go to bed. Got a worky weekend, so looking forward to that. I've got to catch up on these videos as well, man. God damn it. I'll catch you later. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I got that weekend feeling. It's the weekend. I'm about to settle down to do some work. I'm living the dream. It's got to be said, I'm not really a fan of the new uploader on YouTube. It makes my life a bit harder than it used to be. Don't get me wrong, I'm not using it as an excuse as to why I'm so far behind, but it overcomplicates things because I can't just like smash upload a video and then just fill in all the information and leave it. I've got to kind of like wait for it to upload so I can watch the video back, and it's just like expects a lot more from you, you know? It's a pain in the ass. I'm not a fan. I'm not a huge fan. So otherwise, last night I went to bed thinking about how to solve the problem I have where I need to kind of include extra information on something. Kind of nest it down all these levels, which are a real pain in the ass to do. And the current pattern I've got at it just isn't ideal. It's not scalable. So I woke up this morning, I've kind of got a vague idea how I'm going to do it, but I'm not really sure. This weekend, so Laura's at uni. I need to plan next week, which I did that thing where I'm like, I need to spend more time doing the things other than programming, and then didn't do any of it. So I need to do some of the less developer-y stuff. I'm going to qualifying's on and Formula One's on, so I'm hopefully going to try and utilise some of that time to my advantage. So, well, who knows? Let's get on with some, ironically, programming first though. So, what I need to do is I need to implement some changes in my microservice so that you can pull out information about the doohickey, the Nakaru. I'm trying to get it so that you can go to the settings microservice and pull out metadata or a reference to the repository, and then from there on you can pull in all that repository information I was showing you in the last video. Yeah, that sounds like a good plan. That's what I'm going to do. Because as soon as I've got that information coming out, which should be a case of just extending mappers, to be honest, as soon as I've got all that information coming out, then all I need to do is update the API gateway, and then I'm into the world of having to deal with all these mappers and stuff. All this painting. I think it's called painting when you paint stuff on top of the data set like that. I don't know, we'll figure it out. So apparently I was expecting, oh god. Oh my god, this isn't even that bit. That must be on the other feature. Oh, it's a good job I didn't start then, because I was about to do something I wasn't even committed to doing this sprint. I was about to say that access is in feature 140. Oh, so it's in theory in the next sprint. Should do this bit. I thought that the one that I did finish yesterday and the one that I was going to start today were like intrinsically linked, but they're not. Interesting. Okay. In which case then, I've got 12 hours of work to do over the weekend, including planning next sprint and all that stuff. Development work, I've estimated 12 hours. Let's do it. So I like make a point of trying to estimate out all of my tasks so that I have an idea how much to commit to in a week. To be honest with you, I thought this week, I either seem to be more or less dead on or wildly overestimated. I've just finished the microservice changes for that change, one of which was a 5-hour task. The other two were 1-hour tasks, and I can't go lower than 1 hour. I could, but that's nitpicky. And the whole thing took about 2 hours in total. So that's not bad. I've got to do the API gateway. I seem to be dead on estimates on the API gateway. It just takes a while to map that stuff through all the mappers in to get GraphQL working. But yeah, that's cool. It's good because like if I don't finish the sprint early, then I don't really have time to do planning and stuff. You know, I end up losing sprint time to do planning. It would have been tighter if I had that story in that I thought I had in and not the one that I'd just done. So maybe I can get a nice jump start on that for the next sprint. That'll be good. That will be good. Otherwise it's tea time. Just finished watching practice for Formula One and living the dream still. I'm thinking I'm going to smash through this GraphQL stuff until lunch / quali, and I'll have lunch over quali, which is 1 o'clock. and then I will get on to planning for the next sprint, which is probably the most important thing next. But yeah, man. Kind of like, I'm like proud of like what I've pulled together over the past couple of weeks. I feel like I'm slightly behind on my aggressive estimates for myself from where I'd be by the end of November, considering it's the end of November today. It is, isn't it? Yeah. But it's not too bad. It's not too bad. I wanted to get mutators generating. I've got them so I can get at them, but I haven't got them actually generating code, which I will do over December. But yeah, it's good fun. It feels, I've done like loads of work this week, but it feels like what I've done feels less important because it's set up for stuff that is important, you know? But I couldn't do the important stuff without the setup. So it's one of them things where you kind of beat yourself up for spending time doing something that might not necessarily be that important, but needs to be done. Like what I've just done there needs to be done to do the next bit. But what I'm actively doing is just displaying more information via the API, which isn't necessary. Calculating all that information is necessary. But that's life, isn't it? That's life. What else do I need to do? Shall I have a biscuit to tide myself over till quali and lunchtime at 1? I normally have lunch at 12. I'm kind of an hour behind myself. I normally start work at 8, started work at 9. So, question now is, can I've got 2 hours before quali starts. Can I update the API gateway to map this through in that time? Bear in mind, it's only GraphQL schemas that need to be changed. And I've got all the models already. Probably. Let's fucking do this, boys. I kind of forgot that this... Well, I've decided, actually, that I'm going to be using the same models for this, which might make the object quite big later on in life. But... meh. Yeah, that was drastically overestimated. It didn't even hit 3 hours. Finished. Happy days. I even fixed an issue that I spotted the other day where my reference objects have a tiny little bit amount of like metadata in them. So like the reference object itself is basically just an ID and a relative path. Sometimes extra information is needed to either generate the relative path, like in the case of credentials, you need to know what type of credential it is so you get the right URL so that you can go talk to it. But other times there's just like helpful information in there. So like when I kick out repositories, it's going to have a name. So that in theory, you will just get the reference object's designed in such a way where if you want to get more information, you can get it and it will tell you where to get it, but it tries to give you all the information it needs. So all the other services have the name of all the repositories so that when they kick out their reference types, they can tell you the name so that you don't have to then do it yourself. And then as like, it just simplifies things. But the API gateway was scraping that off. Like if you went to the services directly, it would give it you, but the API gateway was just not replicating it because it does a lot of magic with those object types to generate the URL to use to talk to it rather than talk to the third part, the microservice. Does that make sense? Anyway, fix that. It would have been 2.5 hours if it wasn't for fixing that. So it's now 12:15. Formula One's on at 1, and I'm trying to figure out, god damn it's cold, what to do with myself up until that point. Let's see what the weather's like actually outside. I might put a clothes wash on. Oh no, it's way too cold. It's doing that kind of greenhouse thing where it's warm inside but not out here. But you couldn't dry clothes out here, so might do that after lunch, to be fair. I've got to do it this weekend at some point. So what my plan is, I'm going to come downstairs, I'm going to make my sandwiches for lunch. I'm not going to eat it yet. Am I having sandwiches? I'm going to run out of bread. Have I got bread? No. Right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the shop, buy some stuff for sandwiches, and then I'm going to do planning while Formula One's on. The only thing about planning is I can't time it. Or I don't want to time it. I could time it. I could call it like sprint blah 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 planning. No, don't want to do that. Right, let's go to the shop and pick up some stuff. Pick up some sandwich stuff. Do I need anything? Does Laura need anything? But I need sandwich meat and bread and deodorant. I need to buy some deodorant. That's not sandwich related, but Right, Formula One is all sorted. I need to pump up the car tyres and then we're going to get into some planning. Oh, it's just a baby crying. As much as I'm being a hero not putting my thick hoodie on inside the house, I'm going outside, so Laura should be back in like an hour and a bit. So try and get some planning done so I can start hitting the ground running and then maybe do some vlogging. But I think otherwise, the rest of the day we're going to take it off. We're going to watch a film on Netflix, The Irishman, and I need to do video description as well from earlier. Cocky. And yeah, just kind of a relatively chilled out evening. Again, I have a list of things I want to do when I'm not doing stuff, so I need to do those things. But hey, you know what, crew? The Irishman that we watched last night on Netflix, wholeheartedly don't understand. Don't get what the vibe was, don't understand, it was boring, it was way too long. No film needs to be 3.5 hours long, especially one where so little happens. But anyway, yesterday I had an Amazon delivery. Oh god damn it came quite late. I've kind of felt bad because I obviously did it on Black Friday, but I couldn't pick for it not to arrive to next day. Like there's normally an option where you could like opt to have it in a couple of days time or something. You know, you could like pick, I want it on Wednesday, I don't want it on Amazon Prime. That wasn't an option, so the poor delivery driver came yesterday. But I'm now officially finito. I've got some more deliveries to come, but I've ordered and bought everything that I need for Christmas. So, living the dream. Otherwise, the girl is out on uni again. I did all my planning yesterday, so I know from a tech perspective what I want to get done this week. I'm going to start early. I'm going to cheat a little bit. I'm going to start early. I've got a couple of like odd tasks to do around the house today, including some laptop work and Formula One's on. So I'm going to make the most of being free upstairs on Atlas to race ahead on that thing that I thought was a yesterday's sprint, but wasn't. I'm living the dream. I have a fascinating little sub-problem to solve, ATM. And that is that basically I have, my API gateway hides multiple services. So it hides multiple microservices behind it. And what it does effectively is when you make a request to it, it figures out, like a reverse proxy does, figures out who you want to talk to and then talks to them on your behalf. So it basically just takes your message, goes, oh, you've used this URL, that means you want to go talk to that microservice with a similar URL. And the way I've done that basically is by adding a prefix to it. So you would talk to the API gateway and do /repository if you want to talk to the repository service, pipeline if you want to talk to the pipeline service, etc. The problem was that that hasn't really been a problem so far. So you would have gone like repository/provider ID. Bang, there you go. You got the repository provider ID. You could then do provider/repository. Repository/provider/ID/repository/ID, and that will get you to IDs within that repository, that code provider. What I did though, when I added in a URL to do repository, because I'm effectively using a prefix, which complicates things, I wanted to go to /repository, right? So maybe it doesn't make sense to have /repository on the repository service. Maybe you just do repository service/ID instead of repository service/repository/ID. But basically, the problem I have is I decided to put it at repository/ID, and then remove the duplicate repository in the API gateway. So the API gateway was just expecting repository/ID. It will go to repository/ID instead of going repository/ID. Except, you know what I mean? But like, it makes sense on some stuff because if you were talking directly to the mutation setting, the mutation service, you could go to mutation service/settings and that will get you there. Or you go to the API gateway, you go to mutation/settings/ID. But what's confusing is going to the repository service to get repository, because that would be repository/repository/ID, which doesn't make any sense. So I'm contemplating moving repository so that it's actually at repository. So it's just a straight up URL I wasn't thinking about that until I started filming, but I started thinking about it now. And then that would just mean rippling out updates till nougat packages and stuff. It'd be a bit of a pain in the arse, but we'll get there. That makes sense. I think it does. The only problem is it's a bit of a pain in the ass, you know? I'm moving that just because I don't want repository/repository, aren't I? But so do I hack it into the API gateway, or do I just drop the repository from the repository URL and then update all the nougat packages? That's the correct way of doing it. We'll do it that way. I'm just putting myself off it because I know it's more work. All right, fix that. Moved into a different problem. This problem's always existed, but I've never noticed it before because it's never been a scenario where it's mattered. But the way that I do this thing where it goes off and gets the data from the microservice and then the microservice kicks back a reference, then the API gateway processes the reference. If you process the reference in an object model that contains an array, it falls over. That hasn't happened before. Now it does. So I just need to figure out what it does in that scenario. Is it just kicks out the microservice reference, which is no use to a user. It's not a problem, but it's no use to a user, obviously. So I need to fix that. But it's lunchtime / nearly Formula 1 time. So I'm going to go make a sandwich, get all settled on the sofa, get ready to watch a little bit of Formula 1. Oh yeah. Yeah, it's doing like throwing JSON exceptions. I'm trying to process something that's an array rather than an object. I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to get around that, but I'll solve that problem. I knew that this user story was going to be a pain in the ass. I've done everything. I'm just literally updating the API gateway, so I've done all the stuff in the microservice itself, and I'm currently on the REST part of the API gateway, which has caused me problems. Oh, to be fair, I wasn't expecting this bit to cause me problems. And I've got to move on to the GraphQL bit, which is where I've got to get clever about my resolvers that I was talking about the other day, maybe yesterday. Right, let's make a sandwich, chicken and cucumber sandwich today. And I'm going to make myself some crackers as well, and some cheese and crackers. I'm going to live the dream, mate. Got grapes. I was just watching Andrew Marr on BBC iPlayer, and it decided to autoplay something. Yeah, that sounds like my plan. Sounds like fun? It sounds like fun to me. Lunch. Oh, I'll treat myself to a ginger beer. It's the last Formula 1 race of the season, man. Which means I need to consider cancelling my subscription to Now TV Sport, since Formula 1's the only thing I watch. But the problem with that is I've now got to reconsider buying it again next year. Which is problematic. Specifically on the grounds that it's just problematic, mate. Because it's a lot of money. And to be fair, I might be going halvesies with Laura's dad. Or maybe even my dad. Not sure. The thing is, I shared it with him because you can watch it on 2 devices at once. So I'm like, no one else is using the second device, so I shared it with him. And then all of a sudden Dad needed it because Dad had a different way of watching it. And then now he needs another way. So he's not watching it anymore because I've already shared it with Laura's dad. But the problem is he really likes it. And he came to Laura and was like, I'd go halves with Jamie. But I'm like, I only watch it for Formula 1 and even half price of the full price because I got it on the special Formula 1 deal. Even half price. It's really expensive just to watch some races, you know? And it's like, it's tough stuff, man. It's tough stuff. But he watches like football and all that shit as well. So it's more valuable to him than it is to me. Maybe I should get him, because Dad would watch that as well. Maybe I should get him and Dad together and then I just lose out. What am I doing? Stop talking to him. A proper sat Formula 1's finished, boys. Do some washing up and then we're going to get back to work. Laura's been at home today, so that's why I decided I'd just roll this vlog and tomorrow's vlog into the same video. Got to catch up on these days somehow, boys. But yeah, because she's basically sprinkled her holiday out throughout the next couple of weeks, so she's going to be at home quite a bit. But it's because she's at uni at the weekend, she doesn't get weekends, so she doesn't get a break as often as I do, or normal people do, and or to catch up on uni work. So Laura's been at home all day, haven't been vlogging. I've been working upstairs while she's just been chilling out downstairs. I have finished that thing that I started yesterday, which is good. I estimated 12 hours for the tasks on that user story, and the whole thing, all in, took 10 and a half. Not bad. Like, that means 10 hours for the tasks. So it's technically 2 hours over on the tasks for the whole user story, and then half an hour to merge it and code review it and stuff. So that was good. I'm kind of glad that I've managed to basically get a day in hand by doing some of it on Sunday. But yeah, we're in December now, so obviously. Well, this is my first working day in December, so I need to start focusing on other stuff. I always say that, I know I say that literally all the time, but I do. So yeah, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go back, I'm going to go on my laptop, I'm going to do some other things. Laura's going shopping and stuff tomorrow, so I might be doing that basically to have like more of a weekend with her tomorrow, but might not be, because I think some of the things she's getting are for me as well, so who knows. I'm not sure if I'm invited. I think she invited me and then disinvited herself. So we'll find out. But yeah, otherwise, man, it's been a very productive day today, but it's been very programming-y, and I was getting a bit sick of it towards the end. I went completely code blind, and it was in the code view that I realized that actually I just basically hard coded it to work. And the tests were flawed, so the tests weren't failing. Yeah, it wasn't clever. So I was doing that thing where it includes data, and you like ask for this thing and say, yeah, I want to include that, and that. And I'd done I'd wrote all the tests for it and had them failing, but then I made them all come to life at once, and that meant I didn't spot the fact that the last two didn't work because it was such a faffy thing to set up with the mocks and stuff. I got lazy and I just wrote the tests and the code at the same time and never ran them to find them failing. Not clever. But I spotted it in code view. That's what it's there for. So anyway, gonna carry on my walk. It's cold. I want to put my mitten back on because this hand's freezing. I love this kind of year, man. It's like cold, it's dry. I love this kind of light where it's like light but not, you know what I mean? Like this kind of dusky light. Love it so much, man. I've been pushing my luck with this video and I'm still going. I think I'll end it now though, boys. Your boy here is I was just about to make myself a juice, but then I was expecting a glass to be there. And then that was there, that was my juice from earlier. But when I made a cup of tea, I've moved it to the other side of the room where Laura was, so Laura must have brought it. Anyway, Laura's been off today, again, so it was another day of relative, it was like 3/4 of a day of hard graft, you know. More so yesterday than it was today. I finished off a user story. It was basically the user story I just did, but in a different microservice, basically, but it was a little bit more, so there's a lot of copy and pasting, but there's a little bit more like depth to it, I guess, if that makes sense. Not really. So I did that this morning, cleared that out. I then spent the afternoon sat downstairs with Laura, we lit the fire, and I was going through picking out a plan. I've got a attack mode for the things I'm doing that isn't programming. So yeah, it's again one of those things where I feel like I've got so much I need to do. I feel like I need a plan, but what I should just do is just start chipping, you know? So yeah, I watched a webinar about how to use oh, that's Laura's alarm clock. I watched a webinar about how to use how I can use Asana to do some extra stuff, and yeah, that's about it, to be honest with you. I'm not very good at, I also played, I did final practice and qualifying for my hard series, so I'm playing Formula 1 on a harder difficulty, and with a slower car and stuff, and I came like second to last after qualifying, so it's not good. I can't qualify, like, I've just barely scraped the thingies, even in practice, on qualifying. It's ridiculous. But I'm on difficulty 100, and on my other one, I'm on difficulty 80, and this is like, I've upped the percentage distance as well, and that kind of stuff. I don't know, it's by the way. Yeah, I'm not spending as much time as I want to outside of work doing this stuff, but I also, outside of my work hours, doing things that like it feels unproductive, but I think that's because I'm not timing it. I'm very good at timing development work now. I've got like a system set up, it's working great. I'm not very good at timing the non-development stuff, and therefore it feels less productive. I think that's my problem, to be honest with you. I think it's all perception. But we'll get there. Like I say, I've got a to-do list now. I feel like I've got a game plan for tomorrow, so it's just a case of implementing it now. I'm very hiccupy. Right, I think I'm good now, ladies and gentlemen. I'm also going to try and upload a video every single day this month because I need to catch up. So, and if I'm like, I've just uploaded day 3000. So looking at the date in this video, maybe halfway through January I'll have caught up. God damn it. And I'm going to have to schedule some obviously for Christmas. Because my laptop's not going to be working. Anyway, I was about to say, yeah. I just tried to do that thing there where I was like, oh, maybe I should delete that because it's going to be obvious I'm not going to be here over Christmas. But there's no way this gets uploaded before Christmas. I'll definitely be back by then. So thanks for watching, ladies and gentlemen. Hope you enjoyed this video. Back to work tomorrow. We'll be back to the normal schedule, back to the normal stuff because Laura's back at work. So I will catch you later.